Let me tell you something that will change the way you look at the clock forever. Midnight isn't just a time, it's a portal. It's not just the moment when the day flips into the next. It's the exact energetic frequency where the veil between the dimensions becomes paper thin. You felt it, haven't you? That mysterious silence, in that strange awareness, that magnetic pull that wakes you up at 2:11 a.m. or 3:33 a.m. for no logical reason. You try to explain it away: too much caffeine, stress, maybe the neighbor's dog barking. But deep down, you know, your soul knows, something is calling you, something is activating. And that's why you're here, because you're not like everyone else. You're one of us, the ones who couldn't sleep through the illusion, even if we wanted to. The chosen ones. The ones the Matrix can't sedate forever. The ones who feel more alive at midnight than at noon. The ones who've always felt like this world doesn't quite fit, and now we know why. Because we weren't born to fit into a 3D program. We were born to break it. To ascend, to activate our fifth dimensional energy and live as the infinite beings we were always meant to be. Now let me ask you something. What if I told you that the reason you feel most awake when everyone else is asleep is because your soul remembers something they've forgotten? What if I told you that midnight is the original initiation point for multidimensional beings, and that when the world sleeps, the cosmos begins to whisper to those who are ready? You're not waking up at 3 a.m. by accident. You're waking up because you're being called into alignment with the highest version of yourself. You're waking up because your 5D self is trying to merge with your 3D body, and that process begins when the distractions end.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Because here's the truth. Third dimensional reality is loud. It's constant noise, flash, social pressure, mental programming. It's a loop of distraction and distortion designed to keep you focused on what's outside of you. But the fifth dimension, the 5D, that's the realm of pure alignment, infinite potential, and energetic sovereignty. It doesn't respond to ego. It doesn't operate on fear. It doesn't need validation. It responds only to truth, to frequency, to presence. And to access it, you must first deactivate the drama of the third, and there is no better time to do that than midnight. At midnight, the world is silent. The energy grid of the collective mind is quieter. The egoic projections of society are asleep. And in that stillness, you begin to feel what's always been there, but drowned out by noise. Your intuition, your multidimensional memory, your light body, your higher self. That's when it begins. The tingling in your hands, the vibration in your spine, the sudden emotional waves that come out of nowhere, the knowing that doesn't come from thinking. These aren't random. These are activation symptoms. And if you've experienced them, especially around midnight or in the early hours, you're already in the process of accessing 5D energy. You're already shifting. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The fifth dimension isn't a place. It's a frequency. It's a state of being. It's a consciousness that runs silently alongside the 3D world, but requires deep presence to access. And the easiest, fastest, most potent time to access that state is when the world is asleep, because energy flows where attention goes. And when 8 billion people are focused on fear, control, and survival, The energetic grid of the planet is heavy. But when most of them are sleeping, you can slip through the cracks and enter the divine operating system of the cosmos. Why do you think ancient mystics, yogis, gurus, and shamans all practiced their deepest rituals at night? Why do you think they meditated in caves, fasted in silence, or wandered into the woods at midnight? Because they knew. They had decoded the truth. Midnight is the moment of cosmic alignment. It is when your inner world and the quantum field are most synchronized. You're not just more spiritual at midnight, you're more receptive. And when you're receptive, you become a conduit or a portal, a bridge between dimensions. You become the very embodiment of 5D energy in a 3D world. So let's get practical. How do you use midnight to activate your fifth dimensional energy in a real, grounded way? It starts with sacred presence. When the clock nears 12 a.m., instead of numbing out with Netflix, scrolling, or sleeping through your soul's invitation, you prepare like you're entering the holiest temple on earth, because you are your body. You light a candle, not just for aesthetics, but to signal the quantum field that you are ready. You sit in silence not to empty the mind, but to tune into the divine frequency within it. You breathe not shallow, stressed breaths, but deep, sacred inhales that align your nervous system with Source. Your spine becomes an antenna. Your aura expands. Your third eye begins to pulse. And suddenly you're not in your room anymore. You're in the field, the God field, the 5D field. And in this space, everything changes. Time stops. Logic dissolves. You begin to receive downloads, visions, impulses, truths that don't come from intellect but from knowing. You feel your guides, your spirit team, or your future self. You begin to feel the you that exists outside of time, the version of you that already embodies peace, clarity, abundance, and divine power. And you realize this isn't something you have to chase. This is something you already are. You're not climbing to 5D. You're remembering it, reconnecting to it, realigning with it through the sacred stillness of midnight. And now we go deeper. The reason midnight is so powerful is because it is the energetic 0 point. It is the collapse of one cycle and the birth of another. It's the moment where past, present, and future blur into one singular frequency, and if you're present enough, you can slip into a state where manifestation becomes instant, and feeling becomes effortless, and clarity becomes overwhelming. This is why your dreams are so vivid after midnight. This is why you receive visions. This is why you feel so deeply. Because your soul knows this is the hour. This is when the divine blueprint becomes accessible. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't need to be a monk. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be high vibe all the time. You just need to be available. You just need to show up. You just need to listen. Because the fifth dimension doesn't demand performance, it demands presence. It doesn't care how spiritual your Instagram looks. It cares if your heart is open at midnight when the universe comes knocking. And when it does, will you answer? Will you be present enough to hear the whisper? Will you be brave enough to sit in the stillness? Will you be honest enough to let go of what no longer serves your evolution? Because midnight will show you things daylight hides. It will reveal parts of you that are still holding on to pain, control, ego. But it will also show you your wings. your purpose, your divine mission. And that mission is not to escape this world, it's to elevate it. To walk through the chaos with such anchored presence that others remember who they are just by being in your field. That is the power of 5D energy. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It's a silent frequency that transforms everything it touches. So the next time midnight comes, don't treat it like a random hour. Treat it like a sacred doorway, a spiritual opportunity, a multidimensional appointment. Because the universe doesn't knock twice. When it opens the portal, it's because it knows you're ready. And if you're watching this, hearing this, feeling this, then you are ready. Not for more information, but for activation. This is your moment. This is your mirror. This is your midnight. And now the only question left is, will you meet yourself there? Let's go deeper now. You've felt the call. You've heard the whisper. Midnight has already begun its work in you. But what you may not realize yet is that this sacred hour isn't just a time of silence, it's a time of revelation. Because when the world goes quiet, when the distractions fall away, what's left isn't emptiness, it's truth. The truth of who you are. The truth of why you're here. The truth of what you're capable of when you stop living from memory and start living from frequency. This is where midnight becomes more than a portal, it becomes a mirror. A cosmic mirror that reflects the full multidimensional blueprint of your soul. And here's what most people don't realize. You didn't come here just to survive, to pay bills, to scroll endlessly through other people's lives. You came here to remember. You came here to remember that you are not just a body. You are not just a personality. You are not a name, not a label, not a role. You are a multidimensional being encoded with cosmic intelligence. And that intelligence is not somewhere out there. It's inside you, dormant, waiting. And midnight is the key that unlocks the vault. Let's talk about the blueprint. Every soul comes into this life with a unique energetic signature, a set of codes, a divine architecture that holds your gifts, your missions, your lessons, your power. But most people never access it because they're too plugged into the density of the third dimension. They're too busy reacting to the external world to hear the internal guidance. But chosen ones, we were never meant to stay asleep. We were built to awaken the system from within. And that awakening begins when we stop looking outward for answers and begin tuning into the inner cosmic web that links us directly to Source. At midnight, this web lights up. Imagine it like a grid of golden energy. A crystalline network that surrounds the planet, invisible to the eye, but deeply felt by the soul. When the collective mind sleeps, this grid becomes more accessible, more fluid. And if you're attuned, if you're willing to sit in stillness and listen, you can tap into it. You can literally download information, visions, upgrades from higher realms. Not because you're special, but because you're ready. Because you've done the inner work. Because you've cleared enough density to hold the light. And this is where things get real. Because when you access this grid, this blueprint, you begin to remember things that don't come from this lifetime. You remember past lives, parallel lives, future timelines. You begin to sense that time isn't linear, it's layered. It's simultaneous. You begin to realize that the you sitting in meditation is just one version of you. that there are countless versions of you existing across dimensions, all learning, all evolving, all connected. And at midnight, the veil between those versions dissolves. You feel them. You merge with them. You begin to integrate their wisdom, their strength, their clarity. Have you ever had a moment at night where you suddenly felt like you were remembering something ancient, something that had no words, but felt more true than anything you've ever been told? That's you touching your blueprint. That's you stepping into the field where soul memory lives. And once you touch it, you can't go back. The illusions start to fall apart. The lies of the third dimension, scarcity, separation, fear, they stop making sense. You can't participate in the game anymore because now you see the board. You see the matrix. And more importantly, you see your power to transcend it. But here's the catch. The 5D blueprint doesn't just awaken you, it transforms you. And transformation is not always comfortable. It will demand everything that is not aligned with your highest self to dissolve. That means relationships will shift, habits will fall away, old identities will crumble. You'll feel like your life is falling apart, but it's not. It's falling into place. The breakdown is the realignment. The shedding is the activation, and midnight is the sacred womb where that rebirth begins. This is why so many chosen ones experience a spiritual dark night of the soul around this time. It's not because you're cursed, it's because you are being purified. The fifth dimension cannot flow through a vessel that is still clinging to illusions. So the universe will strip you, gently, then forcefully. It will remove everything that blocks your light until all that's left is your essence. The raw, radiant truth of who you are beneath the stories, beneath the roles, beneath the fears. And in that space, in that sacred vulnerability, something miraculous happens. You begin to trust yourself, not the version of you that's shaped by trauma, but the version that exists beyond it. The version that remembers why you came to this planet at this exact time. You didn't come here to sleepwalk. You didn't come here to conform. You came here to awaken the collective through your embodiment of truth, to carry a frequency so pure, so aligned, that it activates others just by being in your presence. And this is where midnight becomes more than an hour, it becomes a practice, a ritual, a spiritual appointment with your highest self. You don't wait for the clock, you become the clock. You create sacred space every night to connect with the field. You stop seeing spiritual work as optional and start seeing it as essential. You begin to live in alignment, not just visit it occasionally. So what does that look like? It looks like sitting in silence even when it's uncomfortable. It looks like asking your higher self for guidance and actually following it. It looks like journaling your downloads, honoring your intuition, protecting your energy like it's gold, because it is. It looks like letting go of urgency and learning to trust divine timing. It looks like prioritizing frequency over appearance, alignment over approval, truth over comfort. This is 5D. It's not about escaping the world, it's about upgrading how you exist within it. It's about shifting from reaction to response, from fear to love, from separation to unity. And this shift doesn't happen during the noise of the day. It happens in the stillness of the night, when your ego sleeps and your soul begins to sing. And the more you practice this, the more your outer world begins to reflect your inner frequency. Opportunities shift, people change, abundance flows. You begin to live in a state of synchronicity where manifestation becomes effortless, not because you're trying to manifest, but because you're finally aligned with the version of you that already has it. The 5D version, the blueprint version, the you that lives beyond time, beyond fear, beyond limits. And here's the most powerful truth. The fifth dimension is not something you reach one day, it's something you remember right now. It's not about going somewhere, it's about becoming fully present where you are. Because presence is the portal. That's the secret. That's the activation. Not doing more, not achieving more, just being more deeply who you already are. So when midnight comes, don't waste it. Don't scroll past it. Don't sleep through it. Sit with it. Breathe with it. Listen to it. Ask it to show you what you're ready to remember. And then be still enough to receive the answer, because it will come. It always does. The universe has been waiting for this moment. Your higher self has been waiting for this moment. And now that you're listening, now that you're ready, the downloads will come faster, the shifts will come deeper, and the alignment will become permanent. This is not a phase. This is your return. This is not a detour. This is your destiny. This is not a spiritual trend. This is the sacred rebirth of your multidimensional self. And it begins exactly when the world thinks everything is asleep. Midnight isn't the end of the day. It's the exact second the light returns. And so do you. You've made it here, and that alone means something powerful is already happening inside you. Because to walk this path, to truly live, it is not something the average person does. Most people don't want truth. They want comfort. They don't want transformation. They want distraction. And that's why the fifth dimension isn't crowded. It's spacious. It's vast. It's pure. Because only those who are willing to dissolve their illusions, to become radically honest with themselves, to be reborn in the fire of presence, can hold the frequency of 5D consciousness while still walking in a 3D world. And that's what this part of the journey is all about. Now that you've activated your energy at midnight, now that you've accessed your blueprint, now that you've stood in that sacred stillness and remembered who you are, how do you live it? How do you live in the fifth dimension while the world around you is still asleep in the third? Because here's the truth. Your awakening isn't the destination, it's the beginning of your true life. You're not here to escape the matrix. You're here to light it up from within. You're here to walk into the densest energies, the fear, the confusion, the chaos, and hold such a steady frequency that reality itself begins to bend around your field. This is the light body revolution. It's not about glowing in a cave somewhere. It's about walking through the grocery store, the office, your family's dysfunction, and radiating so much presence, so much coherence, that other people start to wake up just by being around you. Let's be honest, you've already noticed this happening, haven't you? You'll be in a room and people will start opening up to you without knowing why. Strangers will tell you their life stories. Friends will say, "There's something different about you." You'll notice that your words hit deeper, that your silence speaks louder, that your very presence starts to shift the emotional temperature of a space. That's not ego. That's frequency. That's your 5D field coming online. You are broadcasting light codes now, whether you realize it or not. But here's the challenge: the world will not always celebrate your light. In fact, it may resist it, because when you shift into 5D, you become a mirror. And mirrors are uncomfortable for those who are still hiding from themselves. You may be judged, misunderstood, rejected. Not because you're wrong, but because you remind people of everything they've been avoiding. And in that moment, you must remember, your role is not to be understood, it's to be authentic. Your mission is not to convince others, it's to embody truth so clearly that it becomes undeniable. And this requires mastery, not of others, but of yourself. To live in 5D in a 3D world is to become the calm in the storm, the eye of the hurricane, the grounded being who feels everything, sees everything, knows everything, and still chooses love, still chooses peace, still chooses presence. This kind of power doesn't come from forcing. It comes from anchoring, from being so rooted in your alignment that no amount of chaos can shake you. You don't fight the darkness, you illuminate it. You don't run from fear. You transmute it. And that's where the light body comes in. You see, the more you activate your 5D energy, especially through midnight practice, the more your physical body begins to change. Your cells start to hold more light. Your nervous system recalibrates. Your intuition sharpens. Your senses expand. You become less reactive, more intuitive. You speak less, but your words carry more weight. You eat differently. You move differently. You even breathe differently. Because your body is no longer just a physical vessel, it becomes a living transmitter of light. This is why you may have experienced strange physical symptoms: ringing in the ears, vibrations in your spine, heart palpitations, sudden waves of emotion. These aren't problems. These are upgrades. You are literally being rewired to hold more divine intelligence. Your DNA is switching on dormant codes. Your chakras are aligning. Your aura is expanding. And the more you work with the midnight energy, the faster this transformation accelerates. But, and this is critical, you must support the body as it upgrades. You must hydrate. You must rest. You must ground. You must move your body to integrate the energetic shifts. You must eat in ways that nourish your frequency, not just your palate. Because your temple is becoming sacred technology. And sacred technology must be cared for, not abused. And this is where discipline becomes devotion. You stop doing spiritual work because you should. You start doing it because it feels like breathing. You start waking up at midnight, not because it's trendy, but because your soul craves that silence. Because that's when your higher self meets you. That's when the field opens. That's when the downloads come. And the more you honor that calling, the more your life begins to take on a new shape. One that is aligned, fluid, abundant, effortless. You begin to notice that things you used to chase now chase you. That solutions arrive before problems even fully manifest. That people who resonate with your soul frequency begin to find you without effort, without force. That's the magic of 5D living. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop resisting and start flowing. You stop surviving and start creating. And in this state, your mission becomes clear. You realize that your gifts, your voice, your energy, your presence are not just for you. They're for us, for the collective, for the grid. The matrix doesn't dissolve through protests or arguments. It dissolves when enough people remember who they truly are. And you are part of that remembrance. Every time you speak truth, you activate someone. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you anchor light. Every time you hold presence instead of reacting, you shift the field. This is the revolution. Not through violence, not through fear, through frequency. We are not here to escape the world. We are here to upgrade it, and it begins with us one midnight at a time. So let me ask you the real question now, not just for today, but for every single day forward. Are you willing to live as your highest self even when no one is watching? Are you willing to hold the frequency even when the world doubts you? Are you willing to walk in truth, even if it means walking alone? Because that's what chosen ones do. We don't wait to be validated. We don't wait for permission. We don't wait for the world to catch up. We lead it. We light it. We love it, even when it doesn't love us back yet. And we do it not because it's easy, but because it's true. This is the light body revolution. This is what it means to live in 5D, while the world still operates in 3D. You don't just meditate, you embody. You don't just awaken, you anchor. You don't just rise, you radiate. And when you wake up at midnight tonight, or tomorrow, or next week, and you feel that pull again, that sacred stillness wrapping itself around your body, whispering to your soul, don't ignore it. Answer it. Honor it. Because that whisper, that's the universe reminding you, you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to wake the world up. Welcome to the new earth. Welcome to your mission. Welcome home. This is where we enter the realm of mastery. You've awakened. You've activated. You've learned how to hold 5D energy within your 3D body, within a world still governed by fear, density, and illusion. But now comes the revelation that flips your entire understanding of reality. You are not just living in time, you are shaping it. You're not just following a path, you're creating one. Every single thought, every feeling, every midnight decision ripples through the quantum field and collapses possibilities into form. And this is where the chosen truly rise, not as victims of fate, but as architects of destiny. Midnight is the hour where this truth becomes visible. When the veil of linearity falls away, and you begin to see it not as a metaphor, but as a lived experience, that time is plastic. Reality is coded. And you are the key. Let's go deeper. The third dimension taught you that time is linear. Past, present, future. A straight line. But the fifth dimension shows you something radically different. Time is simultaneous. Every possible version of you already exists. There is a version of you who never woke up, one who played by every rule, who stayed small, silent, scared. There is also a version of you who stepped into their full power, who trusted their knowing, who lived in alignment with their soul, no matter how much the world resisted. And midnight is the moment when you choose which version of you gets to exist in this timeline. That's the quantum mirror. That's the sacred moment where you don't just meditate, you decide. And that decision is everything. Every time you choose love over fear, intuition over logic, Alignment over approval, you collapse the timeline of limitation and step into the timeline of expansion. You shift the quantum field. And that shift doesn't just affect you. It affects your family, your lineage, your soul tribe, and the collective consciousness of Earth. That's how powerful you are. But no one tells you this. No one tells you that your midnight rituals aren't just healing you, they're healing your entire bloodline. That when you transmute fear at 2 a.m., you're not just breaking your own chains, you're breaking the patterns that have haunted your ancestors for centuries. That when you sit in silence and choose presence over panic, you're literally rewriting the codes of reality. This is spiritual technology. This is quantum mastery. This is what the chosen came here to do. But let's be real, this isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it feels like you're losing your mind, like you're unraveling. And in truth you are, but you're not breaking, you're shedding. You're not falling apart, you're falling into alignment. The confusion, the fatigue, the isolation, it's all part of the recalibration. Because you're not just upgrading your beliefs, you're upgrading your entire operating system. And the people around you may not understand. They may mock you. They may project their fear onto your freedom. And in those moments, you must remember, you weren't chosen to be understood. You were chosen to be the mirror that wakes others up. And that mirror is clearest at midnight. This is why the deepest upgrades happen when the world is sleeping. Because you are no longer bound by the rules of the waking world. You are free to rewrite the code. And the code is simple: frequency first, reality second. Let me repeat that: frequency first, reality second. You don't wait for the external to change before you feel peace. You generate peace, and the external must follow. You don't wait for the right opportunity to feel worthy. You embody worthiness now, and the opportunities have to find you. That's quantum law. That's energetic physics. That's the power of the chosen. But this requires radical responsibility. You can no longer afford to be casual with your energy. You can no longer afford to outsource your power to gurus, trends, or the next spiritual high. You are the source. You are the signal. You are the frequency. And every midnight is a reminder that you don't need more information, you need integration. So here's the practice. Every night, return to the mirror. Return to the stillness. Light a candle. Breathe deep. Close your eyes and ask, who am I choosing to become tonight? Not tomorrow. Not when it's convenient. Now. Because the quantum field doesn't respond to potential, it responds to decision. And every decision is a vibration. Every vibration is a command. Every command is a creation. This is not philosophy. This is mechanics. This is how reality works. And when you live this truth, not just study it, you become unstoppable. Not because you're forcing, but because you're aligned. Not because you're perfect, but because you're present. The world may not see it yet, but it will feel it. Because you're not here to follow trends. You're here to shift timelines. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be light. You're not here to escape the simulation. You're here to rewrite the code from within it. And when you do that consistently, when you show up at midnight, like your soul depends on it, because it does, you begin to live a life that feels like a miracle. But it's not a miracle. It's math. It's frequency. It's alignment. This is the future. This is the now. This is the quantum mirror. And you are finally seeing who you've always been.